All right, my friends, if you're out there and you hear me, it means it's time for services. Come on in. Do you want me to?
No, that's what Martina does so well.
Not enough pressure.
The Hasidim are outside and the Yekas are inside.
There we go. I'm bringing it.
Really? Yeah. Come on. No? I don't know. Let's start singing. That's also Chassidisha. Let's go. Let's sing. He's got some olam. They'll come in. Let's do like an extended olam. You know, the turns.
I will build this world. I will build this world from love. And you must build this world from love. You must build this world from love. And if we build this world from love, and if we build this world from love, then God will build this world. Then God will build this world from love. Olam chesed, Olam chesed yibaneh. 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 I will build this world from love. I will build this world from love. And you must build, and you must build this world from love. And if we build this world, God will build this world, then God will build this world from love. Yadadai, yadadai, olam chesed, olam chesed yibaneh. Yadadai, olam chesed yibaneh.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
Shabbat shalom.
Welcome to Temple Israel. We're so glad that you could be here with us this evening as we celebrate Shabbat together. And, I often say that I know that people come to services for many different reasons, and I think that is probably true this weekend more than any other. But I hope that whatever it is that you came here for tonight, that you find what it is you're looking for. Now, some of us are here because we have a serious simcha that is happening this weekend in the congregation, and that is because Dylan Weiss tomorrow is becoming bar mitzvah. And so, in anticipation of that amazing event, it is my pleasure to invite Dylan and his family up to help us in the lighting of the Shabbat candles. Oh, this is the grandparents. All right, grandparents, that's you, DeWaskins, Weisses. Come on up. You know the drill.
Those who are voluntold.
Oh, and a bonus, you do not look like a grandma. Just saying.
She's a very young grandma. Okay.
If not, we have lasers. We really do. There is, I don't see the laser under there. We have a
Let's light it first and then we'll get to your blessing.
first light. Yeah. Hi. He's got it.
All right, Terry, go for it.
Yeah, Tara.
Yep.
Good job.
Beautiful. And then if you want to lift that Kiddush cup.
Amen. L'chaim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen. Thank you. Mazel tov.
You may need this, I'm sure.
I'm not sure.
So we'll turn to page 13 and we'll sing one of our psalms from Kabbalat Shabbat. This one just asks us to be able to sing a new song unto God.
Shiru l'Adonai kol haaretz. Shiru l'Adonai shir chadash. Shiru unto God, and we'll all sing along. All the earth a new song unto God. Shiru Adonai, Noareh. Shiru Adonai, Shir I will sing unto God a new song.
We continue on page 20 with a song composed in perfect poetic meter in the 16th century, in a dark time where Friday night, which was really traditionally a pretty plain night, became something reimagined, became something sacred and holy and special, became Kabbalat Shabbat. And at that time we imagined that this ceremony would not just be a religious ceremony where we celebrate the evening and the Sabbath beginning, but that we would also be celebrating a wedding as well.
Yami Shamo v'zachor b'dibur echad Hishmiyanu el hameyuchad Adonai echad U'shemo echad L'shem u'tiferet v'letila Ol echad odi likrat kala Panei Shabbat nekabela Ol echad odi likrat kala Panei Shabbat nekabela Boi v'shalom eteret ba'ala Gam b'simcha ובצהלה תוך אמוני המסגולה בואי חלה או לך דודי לקראת כלה פני שבת נקבלה או לך דודי לקראת כלה פני שבת נקבלה פני שבת נקבלה.
We turn now to page 28, and I'd invite you to please rise for the call to worship the Baruch Hu.
Yai dai dai, yai dai dai dai, yai dai 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 dai, yai dai dai, yai dai dai dai, yai dai 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 dai. Adonai HaMevorach Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Le'olam va'ed Yai dai dai, yai dai dai dai, yai dai 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 dai, yai dai dai, yai dai dai dai, yai dai 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 dai.
We continue on page 33. As you taught Torah to those whose names I bear, teach me Torah too. Its mystery beckons, yet I struggle with its truth. You meant Torah for me. Did you mean the struggle for me too? Don't let me struggle alone. Help me to understand, to be wise, to listen, to know. Lead me into the mystery. Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael.
And we join on 34 in the words of the Shema.
Shema,
Shema
Yisrael,
Yisrael,
Adonai,
Adonai,
Eloheinu,
Eloheinu,
Adonai,
Adonai,
Eloheinu,
Eloheinu,
Adonai,
Adonai,
Echad,
Echad.
Baruch,
Baruch,
Shem
Shem
Kevod,
Kevod,
Shem Kevod,
Shem Kevod,
Malchuto,
Malchuto,
Shem Kevod,
Shem Kevod,
Malchuto,
Malchuto,
Leolam,
Leolam,
Vayeh.
Va'ed. Please be seated. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol lebavcha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol me'odecha v'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta b'ham b'shivtecha b'beitecha uv'lechtecha v'derech uv'shochbecha uv'kumecha וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובישעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
We continue on page 36. Sorry, 39. In a world torn by violence and pain, a world far from wholeness and peace, give us the courage, Adonai, to say, Adonai, there is one God in heaven and earth. The high heavens declare your glory. May earth reveal your justice and love. From bondage in Egypt we were delivered. At Sinai we bound ourselves to your way, together, inspired by prophets and instructed by sages. Time and again we overcame oppressive forces. Though our failings are many and our faults are great, it has been our glory to bear witness to our God, keeping alive in dark ages your vision of a world redeemed.
Let us continue to work for the day when the nations will be one and at peace. Then shall we rejoice as Israel did, singing on the shores of the sea.
Micha mocha vaylim Adonai. Micha mocha neda b'kodesh. Let's do that again. Micha mocha vaylim Adonai. Micha mocha neda b'kodesh. Norat hilot kamocha. Mi kamocha, Ba'ilim Adonai. Mi kamocha, Neda b'kodesh, Malchutecha u'banecha, Hokeyam lifnei Moshe u'Miriam. Ze Eli anu ve'amru, Ze Eli anu ve'amru, Yai lai lai, Yai lai, Yai lai lai lai, Yai lai 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 lai, Yai lai, Yai lai lai lai, Yai lai 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 lai, Yai lai 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 lai.
Milchamocha is the prayer that the Israelites sang as they marched to freedom, but in our Siddur we follow it with the words of Hashkivenu, asking God, once we have found this freedom, to protect us always with a shelter from the storm, wherever we may go.
Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Hashkivenu, Adonai Eloheinu. Hashkivenu, B'Shalom. Hashkivenu, Adonai Eloheinu. Hashkivenu, B'Shalom. V'hamidenu, Shomreinu l'chaim, Ufros aleinu, Sukat shlomecha. Hashkivenu, and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be your shelter from life's storm. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Be our shelter from life's storms. Be our shelter from life's storms.
So tomorrow, Dylan is becoming bar mitzvah, but he also has some peers who are on their way to becoming b'nai mitzvah. So Dylan, we're going to ask if you will be the leader, and if any of your classmates are here who would like to help him out, whether I know you've been practicing for this, we're going to invite you all to come on up, and please rise. Come on, Dylan, you got to do it. You know this.
on,
You're
buddy.
up tomorrow. And we'll ask everyone to please rise, and the students are going to lead us in tefillah on page 46.
Adonai sefatita uvia gita hilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu Elohei Avotinu v'Imotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el HaGadol HaGibor HaNorah, El
Vekunei hako, Vizoker chasdei avokimaho, Umevi ula lifnei v'neihem, Shleman shemo v'ahava, Melech ozer u'moshia u'magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham, Ezra Sarah. Atah gibor le'olam Adonai, Mechaye hakol Torah le'oshia, Mechaper chaim v'chesed, Mechaye hakol v'rachamim rabim, Somech noflim v'rovech olim, Umatir asurim, Umachaye emunato, Lishenei afar, Michamocha ba'al gevurot, Umido melech, Melech memit, Umechaye, Umasiach Yeshua, Ne'eman atah lehayot hakol, Baruch atah Adonai, Mechanei
Please be seated.
So we'll turn now to page 60, and knowing that it has been a terrible day in Israel, a terrible week in Israel, a very difficult week all across our country, we offer a prayer for peace, and we hope that that peace, that shalom comes to everyone in our community, in our country, in Israel, and around the world.
Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Le'olam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Le'olam. Ki ata Melech Adon Bechol HaShalom. Ki ata melech Adon lechol hashalom. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Le'olam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Le'olam. V'tov beinecha levarech את עמך ישראל, בכל עת ובכל שעה, לשלומך. שלום רב ישראל עמך, תשים לעולם. שלום רב ישראל עמך, תשים לעולם, תשים לעולם, תשים לעולם.
We turn now forward in our prayer books all the way to page 253. At this time in our service, we always take a few moments and we think of those in our families and our friends and our community who are in need of healing. So if there's someone that you're thinking of who would appreciate knowing that we are sharing their names here, I would invite you to share it with us at this time. thinking too tonight of Lisi Weinstein and of Arlene Alper, of David and of Yitzhak Ben Meir, thinking of all of them and thinking of each of us. We sing Misha Berach. Berach Avotenu Mekor HaBracha Leimotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Misheberach imotenu mekor habracha leavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen.
Ose shalom bimroma, uyase shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel, ve'imru shalom bimroma, uyase shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel, ve'imru Amen. Shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel, ve'imru Amen. Ve'imru
A long, long time ago, back in the 1980s, there was a time when some people vandalized our building here at Temple Israel with a giant swastika. Now, the reason that I know this is not because I was there. I mean, I guess theoretically I might have been there, but I was a baby, so I don't remember it. The reason I know this is actually not because it's something that we talk about very often, or even because it made that much of an impact when it happened. The reason I know is because at the time, the head of our maintenance crew, Hoover, who is actually the head, he is Derek Bryant, the current head of our facilities, who's his father. So Hoover did this amazing job of cleaning the swastika off the wall, and he did such a good job that actually it left an imprint because it made it clear that the rest of the wall would never be that clean. And so there are times, even now, when if the sun hits the wall just right along Ladue Road, you can still see the shadow of this swastika. And so every few years, we will get a call of someone saying there is a swastika on your wall, and we'll have to tell them, well, it's not really there, it's just a memory of a swastika. And I've always found that to be such a powerful image, being able to know that this vandalism happened to our synagogue, and even though we were able to wipe it clean, it never really went away. That being marked in that way, being tagged, it would always be with us, a reminder of something that happened to us as the Jewish people. Now, the truth is, this isn't something that just happened this week. It isn't something that just happened in the 80s. No, this has been happening to the Jewish people for a very, very long time. And I would actually go so far as to say that this has been happening to Jewish people since the beginning of the Jewish people. And I would trace it, weirdly enough, to this week's Torah portion. You see, in this week's Torah portion, we hear the last of the 10 plagues. And you probably know the story of the 10 plagues, even if you are not that observant of a Jew, because this is something that we talk about every time that we have Passover. We talk about the story of the Israelites being slaves in Egypt and how Moses kept going to Pharaoh and saying, let my people go, and Pharaoh would say no. And so finally, God brought all of these different plagues upon the people. And when we talk about the plagues, the Passover Seder, it's cute and it's fun, and we have puppets, and we stick our finger in the wine, and we sing, Kinim, Svardeya, and it's all very sweet. But of course, there was nothing sweet or nice about the plagues. And the very worst of the plagues was the last one. It was the death of the firstborn. And what happens before the death of the firstborn is that God says to Moses to tell the people, God says, you're going to have to mark your houses in red. You are going to have to mark your front doors so that I know which are the houses of the Jewish people. Theoretically, if God does this, then it will mean that the Jewish people are spared. But this is a weird thing that God suggests. This is a weird thing for God to ask the people to do. First of all, because God is God. I mean, you would think that God would know which one the Jewish people were and wouldn't need some sort of cheat sheet, especially because in the past plagues, again and again, there have been times where God would say, okay, the plagues are happening to the Egyptians and not to the Israelites, right? There was darkness for the Egyptians, not for the Israelites who were living right next door. So God should have known. So probably there's something more to it. Maybe one idea is that it's about the angel of death. We don't talk about the angel of death that much in Judaism, but when we do, there's almost this idea that the angel of death is really easily fooled. If you've ever wondered in Judaism why it is that for Ashkenazi Jews that we don't name people after someone who is still alive, it's not actually just out of respect. It's this idea that there's a belief that the angel of death might be fooled or confused. And so if you have a great-great-uncle Larry and then you name the baby Larry, that maybe when the great-great-uncle Larry reaches the end of his life, that the angel of death might be like, oh my God, great-great-uncle Larry, baby Larry, which one do I take? And so that's why you don't name the baby. And so maybe the angel of death was just very easily fooled, and so the Jews had to make sure to put blood on their doors so that the angel of death would come along and he'd be like, whoa, someone already died in this house, I can just move on. Maybe that's why. There's another idea that actually Rabbi Michael came up with this week that I thought was so interesting. He was talking about the fact that we know that the Israelites were slaves. And as slaves, they had nothing. And so the thought that each of these Israelite households had to go out and be able to find an animal that they would slaughter, to find a goat that they could slaughter and use the blood to put on its doors, that would have been a serious commitment indeed. These are slaves who had nothing. They also didn't know that this last terrible plague was coming, so to be able to make this decision and say, yes, I am going to slaughter my only prized possession, just because this God, who I really have no encounter with, told me to, well, that was a sign of dedication and surely would have been enough to prove that these were people who deserved to be taken out of slavery. But I wonder if maybe neither of those answers are right. I wonder if there is something inherently Jewish about this idea of having these red marks on our doors and on our homes. Because the truth is that once the Jewish people, once they were marked in that moment, the entire history of what it meant to be a Jew changed. From that moment, they became God's people. They became a people who would have to follow all of God's rules. They would become the Jewish people, which we know, friends, is not always very easy. From that moment, when you can say they were first sort of tagged, even if they did it themselves, they would be a people who was forever marked, who would forever be one of these people, the Jewish people, for whom we know it is not so easy. But we also know that from that very beginning, that they learned what it meant to be a Jew. It wasn't about being a slave. From that moment, we learned what we practice to this day, that to be a Jew means we are people who always say that justice and mercy come first. That we are a people who says there is nothing more important in our worlds than education and family. That we are people who, whenever we see suffering, we say, we know what it's like to suffer, and so we want to help. We may be a people who is forever marked and will be marked again and again. We may be a people who know what it is to suffer and experience loss, but we are a people who knows what it means to be Jews and to know that that means that it is worth it. We're a people who will always stand up for what we believe, however they may mark us. We will just keep washing those marks away again and again and again. And it will just be a reminder to us that being Jewish now is more important than ever. And so we read on page 258.
For our congregation, let us all speak together. Source of all being, may the children of this community learn these passions from us: love of Torah, devotion in prayer, and support of the needy. May we guide with integrity, and may our leadership be in your service. May those who teach and nourish us be blessed with satisfaction, and may we appreciate their time and their devotion.
Bless us with the fruits of wisdom and understanding, and may our efforts bring fulfillment and joy.
Baruch atah Adonai, she'otcha levadcha b'yira na'avod. Because our energy is focused as well tonight on Jerusalem, we turn to page 259 and continue on in English in a prayer for the state of Israel. O Heavenly One, Protector and Redeemer of Israel, bless the state of Israel, which marks the dawning of hope for all who seek peace. Shield it beneath the wings of your love. Spread over it the canopy of your peace, and send your light and truth to all who lead and advise, guiding them with your good counsel. Establish peace in the land and fullness of joy for all who dwell there.
Amen. And we'll ask you now to rise on page 282 at the bottom of the page for the words of the Aleinu.
Aleinu l'shabech l'adon hakol, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל עמונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא.
On 287, may we gain wisdom in our lives, overflowing like a river with understanding, loved each of us for the peace we bring to others. May our deeds exceed our speech, and may we never lift up our hand but to conquer fear and doubt and despair. Rise up like the sun, O God, over all humanity. Cause light to go forth over all the lands between the seas, and light up the universe with the joy of wholeness, of freedom, and of peace. V'nemar v'haya Adonai l'melech ha'kol haaretz bayom hahu yeh Adonai echad u'shemo
On this day, the world marks Holocaust Remembrance Day, though we in Israel will mark Yom HaShoah as well later on this year. It is important that we acknowledge that the world acknowledges and remembers. And with that, I would ask you to join me on page 292. We have lived in numberless towns and villages, and in too many of them we have endured cruel suffering. Some we have forgotten, others are sealed in our memory, a wound that does not heal. 100 generations of victims and martyrs, still their blood cries out from the earth. And so many at Dachau, at Buchenwald, at Babi Yar. What can we say? What can we do? How bear the unbearable, or accept what life has brought to our people? All who are born must die, but how shall we compare the slow passage of time with the callous slaughter of the innocent cut off before their time? They lived with faith, not all but many, and surely many died with faith in God, in life, in the goodness that even flames cannot destroy. May we find a way to the strength of that faith, that trust, that sure sense that life and soul endure beyond this body's death. They have left their lives to us. Let a million prayers rise whenever Jews worship. Let a million candles glow against the darkness of these unfinished lives.
And so, too, we take the time to recall with love the names of those taken from our community in recent days. And our hearts go out to their families in sympathy as we recall their names: Francis Cummins, Jared Kalina, Irene Owens, Jerry Steele, and Adam Thomason. We recall the names of those, the anniversary of whose death occurs on the Shabbat, and whose names have been inscribed in the archives of our congregation or on the Wall of Honor for perpetual memorial: Maxine Baer, Rose Berliner, Abraham Brickman, Julius Davis, Annabelle Diamond, Joseph J. Edlin, Michael Edlin, Robert Simon Eisman, Charles Elias, Elaine Elias, Doris Fishman, Leonard Gillis, Joseph Glazer, Jeannie Goldberg, Wilma Billy Goldstein, Selma Gould, Mildred Greenblatt, Sally Greenblatt, Isaac Greenfield, Louis Greenspun, Gertrude Greger, Barney Grossberg, Patricia Grossberg, Harry Horn, Catherine Glazer Jacobs, Harold Jungman, Erna Shield Katz, Ralph Kaufman, Saul Kessler, Ann Koenigsberg, David Kriegshaber, Jacob Laufer, Fred Lederman, Hattie Levy-Leuschheim, Fred Lowy, William Milius, Judith Gelfand Minkin, Lizzie Newman, Annie Pasternak, Molly Remmel, Peggy Ross, Ida Rothman, Emma Samuels, Cyril K. Schlansky, Bonnie Schur, Isidore Singer, Bertha Seitman, Lois Sloofman, Esther Spitz, Jenny Stein, Alfred Steindecker, Lily Nathanson Sussman, Gustava Vorhaus, Louis Waldman, Jane Wasserman, and Anna Wildman. So with these names and the names we keep in our hearts, and thinking of all those who have no one left to say Kaddish for them, we say the words of the Mourner's Kaddish on page 294.
Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, ba'alma divrah chirutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon u'vyomechon u'v'chayei dechol Beit Yisrael, ba'agala u'vizman kariv emru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevarach la'alam olmei almaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shmei dekudesha b'richu, La'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechamata, Damiran ba'ama v'imru amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya. V'chaim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. V'imru amen.
Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru amen. May the source of peace and peace to all who mourn and comfort to all who are bereaved. And we say, Amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imru. Amen. So a few closing words before we turn to our final song. First of all, next week we are celebrating Tu B'Shvat. We would love to have you here, but we would ask that you RSVP first so we can have enough treats for you.
It's Adele's favorite holiday.
It is. So come for Adele, if for no other reason, and for the treats. For those of you
Sorry.
who want to join us for
I had
learning
to.
this Sunday morning, we are giving you the Jewish take on vegetarianism. But most importantly, this has been a week, and just to be able to have you all here and feel your solidarity, it's really so beautiful, and it really just means the world to us. So thank you for being here and everything you do for our community. And we need one last prayer for peace, I think, to really close things out.
Oseh shalom b'mromav. Oseh shalom b'mromav. Hu ya'aseh, hu ya'aseh, hu ya'aseh shalom. Hu ya'aseh, hu ya'aseh, hu ya'aseh shalom. Hu ya'aseh, hu ya'aseh, hu ya'aseh shalom. Aleinu. May the one who makes peace bring peace down, bring peace down. May the one who makes peace bring peace down, bring peace down. May the one who makes peace bring peace down, bring peace down. May the one who makes peace bring peace down, bring peace down. Oseh shalom b'mromav. Oseh shalom b'mromav. Hu ya'aseh, hu ya'aseh, hu ya'aseh shalom. Hu ya'aseh, hu ya'aseh, hu ya'aseh shalom. Hu ya'aseh, hu ya'aseh, hu ya'aseh shalom. Hallelujah.
Count it down. All right. Here we go.
May the one who makes peace bring peace down, bring peace down. May the one who makes peace bring peace down, bring peace down. May the one who makes peace bring peace down, bring peace down. May the one who makes peace bring peace down, bring peace down.
May we all be brought peace. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.